It is time for my final 2023 NFL mock draft. And let me tell you, I am ready to go with this NFL draft. There has been lots of rumors and speculations throughout the entire offseason, and I am ready for everything to finally get revealed. Who is going to be drafted where? Who is going to trade up? Who's going to trade down? And who will be traded on draft night? Johnny Talk Sports here with my final mock draft, and I am ready to go. I'm not going to waste any more time. Pick number one, the Carolina Panthers. They select their franchise quarterback, Bryce Young out of Alabama. Now, Bryce Young has been the rumored candidate for the number one pick for the last week and a half, but it is still uncertain. Now, here's where things can and probably will get interesting on Thursday night. The Texans, the Houston Texans, they are reportedly infatuated with Will Levis. And I get that. The more I watch Will Levis, the more he reminds me of Josh Allen. A quarterback that was projected to potentially be number one overall pick a year before, well, after the previous draft. Will Levis was a candidate for the number one pick. But he goes to a school that isn't that recognized. And I get Kentucky is in the SEC conference, but it's not as recognizable as an Alabama or an Ohio State or even a USC or even a Georgia. But you get the idea here. There's also been rumors that the Texans are open to passing on a quarterback. And I think they're going to pass on a quarterback here. I think they're going to take a gamble and they're going to try to see if Will Levis or even CJ Stroud gets to him at pick number 12. As another rumor is that teams are panicking on CJ Stroud due to the S2 cognitive score. And even though I think the creator of it, he came out and said that those test results were a lie. But the Texans go with Will Anderson Jr. out of Alabama. And this is going to be a very great pick to start the DeMeco Ryans era, a defensive guy at heart, as he takes, without a doubt, the best defensive player in this draft class. And I get the arguments with Jalen Carter, but Will Anderson Jr. has just really, he's convinced me he's the best defensive player in this draft class, even though I thought it was Jalen Carter back in January. But Will Anderson Jr. takes the cake for best defensive prospect. Pick number 3, we have our first trade of the night. The Colts move up one spot from 4 to 3 to select Anthony Richardson, the quarterback out of Florida. The Colts get their franchise quarterback as they ensure they get the guy they want. As there's been rumors that the Seahawks are interested in Anthony Richardson, the Raiders could trade up from 7 to 3. The Titans could trade up from 11 to 3. Even the Texans could trade from 12 to 3. So a lot of quarterback needing teams right behind the Colts that could trade up from to number 3. They get the quarterback they want. Pick number 4, we have another trade. The Cardinals are trading down again. The Lions move up from 6 to 4 to select Jalen Carter, the defensive lineman out of Georgia. Now, this is a pick that's going to excite Dan Campbell. And I get that there's a lot of concern with Jalen Carter at this point. But this is a risk that someone like Dan Campbell would be interested in taking. It would be in his best interest to have him join Aiden Hutchinson. If the Lions got Jalen Carter and he pans out instantly, the Lions, they could easily not only win the NFC North, but they could perhaps be a top 5 defense in the league in the near future. And that is depending on how the rest of the draft goes for them. Pick number 5, the Seahawks, they go with Tyree Wilson, edge rusher at Texas Tech. It boosts up the Seahawks defense, a defense that has been inconsistent throughout the last couple of seasons. Pick number 6, the Cardinals. They finally make a selection, and it is Devin Witherspoon, the corner at Illinois. Now, this draft is reminding me a lot of last year's draft of which corner's going first. Is it going to be Witherspoon or is it going to be Gonzalez? Just like last year was with, is it going to be Stingley or is it going to be Sauce Gardner that comes out the board first? But I have Devin Witherspoon coming off the board first. But I have Christian Gonzalez coming off the board right after him, with the Raiders selecting Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. Pick number 8, we have another trade, and it is a trade that I don't think a lot of people are going to expect, but I am expecting it. The Green Bay Packers trade up from 13 to 8, and they select Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide receiver, Ohio State. As Jackson Smith-Njigba is the first receiver off the board, and one of the rumors that I do believe, that I think is an actual fact, is the Packers are interested in Smith-Njigba. But the problem is they are right behind some wide receiver needing teams. The Bears, the Titans, and the Texans. And the Eagles, they threw out a smokescreen saying they're interested in Smith-Njigba, but I'm not really buying it. I mean, it'd be nice to see Smith-Njigba in Philadelphia, but I think the Packers, they trade up, they get a receiver to complement Christian Watson. Pick number 9, the Bears. Now, I could definitely see the Bears trading down from 9 to get some more draft capital, but I am going with Paris Johnson Jr., offensive tackle, Ohio State. They get a tackle to protect Justin Fields. Although I would not be shocked if the Bears went Bijan Robinson. I get that they brought over Donta Foreman in the offseason, but sometimes the best player available doesn't hurt. Pick number 10, I have Bijan Robinson off the board. So Bijan Robinson at number 10 to Philadelphia, that is what I have. And that rounds out the top 10. So C.J. Stroud and Will Levis, after the top 10, are still on the board. But I have them come off the board right here. Pick number 11, the Titans. They select C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State. And pick 12, the Texans select Will Levis out of Kentucky. So as I mentioned earlier, the Texans, they go with Will Anderson Jr. at 2. They are banking on Stroud or Levis falling to pick 12. And Levis is on the board at 12. They take advantage of that. So they get the quarterback that they essentially want, at least it's being reported, but they get him at 12, which this is a huge gamble that pays off for the Texans. And for the Titans, it's being reported they are giving up on Malik Willis, and Ryan Tannehill's getting up there in age. So I think C.J. Stroud is going to be a project. I think he's going to be more of a developmental kind of pick. I think we'll see C.J. Stroud probably start later on in the season if he does go to the Titans. But we'll have to see what happens on draft night. Pick number 13, the Falcons, trading down from 8 to 13. They select Nolan Smith, the edge rusher to Georgia. Now, Nolan Smith to Atlanta, that is what I've been slating in these last several mock drafts. This is one of the picks I am fully confident in. I'm confident that Nolan Smith is going to be a Falcon on Thursday night. Pick number 14, we have another trade. The Chargers trade up from 21 to pick 14, and they select Zay Flowers, wide receiver, Boston College. And I think this is going to be a great pickup for the Chargers here. They trade up quite a few spots from 21 to 14 to get Zay Flowers. Although I could see them maybe just being able to hold out for pick 21 to get Zay Flowers. But I feel like Zay Flowers, we see a lot of surprises. We see a lot of reaches here. I think Zay Flowers could be a bit of a reach. Although I could see Seattle want to take Zay Flowers, maybe even the Ravens trying to trade up, maybe even the Giants trying to trade up, or even the Chiefs trade up for Zay Flowers, but the Chargers get to it first. But one thing I will predict is that whoever gets Zay Flowers is going to have to trade up for him to get him. Pick number 15, the Jets are on the clock, as the other day the Jets and the Packers, they swapped first round picks. The Jets now pick 15th, and they go with Peter Skoronski, out of Northwestern, the offensive tackle. Perhaps the best offensive tackle in this draft class. And the Commanders follow it up by taking Darnell Wright, offensive tackle out of Tennessee. Now, the Commanders, they have a tendency of reaching for guys. They did it last year with Jahan Dotson. I believe there was someone that they reached on. I don't think it was in 21, but I think in 2020 they reached on some, but I don't remember at this moment. If someone wants to correct me in the comment section, please do so. I would really appreciate it. But this could be considered a reach with Broderick Jones on the board, but I like Darnell Wright a lot as a prospect. Pick number 17, the Steelers. They select Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State, the corner. And I think this is a pick that a lot of people have slated in their mock drafts, because I think this is the perfect fit for him. Pick number 18, I think this would be a very controversial pick. The Lions go with Dalton Kincaid, the tight end out of Utah, as Kincaid is the first tight end off the board. And I know that this might be a controversial pick, but you got to remember, Dan Campbell is a tight end guy. And I think there's no doubt in my mind that the Lions are going to end up with a tight end this weekend. They're going to end up with one of the tight ends, whether it be Kincaid, Mayer, Kraft, or Washington, or Strange out of Penn State. They will end up with a tight end, I guarantee it. Pick number 19, the Buccaneers go with Broderick Jones, offensive tackle out of Georgia. It improves their offensive line. Pick number 20, the Seahawks go with Jordan Addison, wide receiver out of USC. I think this might be a surprise pick, but I had Zay Flowers at 20 to the Seahawks in the last mock draft, but the Chargers traded up in this mock draft. Pick number 21, the Patriots, they select Lucas Van Ness, edge rush out of Iowa. I think this is the kind of prospect that Bill Belichick is just salivating over. But I really do think it's possible that Lucas Van Ness is going to be off, could possibly be off the board by pick 21, but I have mixed feelings about it. I mean, 1 minute I think Lucas Van Ness is going to be maybe a top 12 pick, but then another minute I think he could fall into the 20s, which I have right here. Pick number 22, the Ravens get a weapon for Lamar Jackson. They get Quentin Johnston out of TCU. A receiver that I feel like has been getting undervalued a little bit in these last couple of weeks, but I think this is going to be the range where he goes in, somewhere that needs a receiver. Ravens, Vikings, Giants. Although you could argue the Vikings don't need one right away, but I think the Vikings do go receiver at some point in this draft. Pick number 23, the Vikings with Brian Bursey out of Clemson. I think this has been a pick that I have had slated in multiple mock drafts in this offseason throughout this process. I just think that Brian Bursey to the Vikings, I think that'd be a great fit. Pick number 24, I think this might be a surprise pick as well. The Jaguars go with Brian Branch, safety out of Alabama. I do think that this is going to be a nice boost for the Jaguars secondary. Pick number 25. Now the Giants, this was a very tough one, as this is one I changed multiple times. I originally had them going with Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee. Then I thought, okay, is it going to be John Michael Schmitz out of Minnesota, even Cody Mock? Although I could definitely see the Patriots going Cody Mock. In fact, I had the Patriots going with Cody Mock in my first mock draft, but I have the Giants settling in on Deonte Banks out of Maryland. And there's been a lot of talk about this group of corners and how it's a very stacked group of corners. But I also think that the Giants, I think they might be also interested in trying to wait on a receiver in later rounds, as there are some good diamonds in the rough as far as receivers are concerned in later rounds. Although I would not be surprised if the Giants did go with Jalen Hyatt. I definitely see it. It's what I had originally, but I changed it at the last minute. Pick number 26. Now, as much as this is a controversial pick, I think that this is going to be 100% the Cowboys pick. They go with Michael Mayer, tight end at Notre Dame. The Cowboys, they rarely draft by need. They take best player available, flashy product, and, or should I say, flashy prospect. And Michael Mayer is just that. They find a replacement for Dalton Schultz. They draft Michael Mayer. Pick number 27. Now, I would not be surprised if the Cardinals have this pick after they trade DeAndre Hopkins to the Bills. But I have the Bills going with Drew Sanders, linebacker to Arkansas. Pick number 28, the Bengals going with Cody Mauch, offensive tackle, North Dakota State. Pick number 29, the Saints going with Myles Murphy, edge rusher to Clemson. 30, the Eagles going with Adetomiwa Adebawor, the edge rusher Northwestern. I think I totally mispronounced the name, but final pick here. And I'm sorry that I'm rushing through this. I'm just a little bit burnt out by all these rumors and speculations throughout the last week. But rounding out the first round, very controversial pick here, but the Chiefs go with Jonathan Mingo, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Now, Jonathan Mingo is someone that Andy Reid really likes. But the problem is, I don't think that the Chiefs can wait for pick number 62 or whatever pick it is they pick in the second round. They can't wait for Mingo. So they got to take him round one. As I think Mingo, if he does not get taken by the Chiefs, I think is going to be picked within the first 7 picks of day 2. So that will do it for my final NFL mock draft. Comment your thoughts down below. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, have a wonderful day and enjoy the NFL draft.